Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Mangalorian, where myself and Jordan, the Dragon Lee, right over here, we like to go back and study and discuss the original manga written by Mr. Toriyama, whom we lost earlier this year. Last week, we wrapped up the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai. This week, we're going to begin the Red Ribbon Army Saga, and this is going to slowly change how the series goes. Because in the early portions of the manga, they almost felt episodic in a way. It almost felt like it was like random adventures of them going to places. While some of that is still in the Red Ribbon Army, like some of those concepts are still there. There is more action, there's more fighting, and we have a more serious enemy. Pilaf really was a comedic enemy, but now we've got, there is comedy still there, but it really follows Goku. It's no longer, and even though we have his friends around, they're not heavily involved in this story. It's Goku traveling around, he meets Arale, etc. Today we're covering volume 5, which is the beginning of Red Ribbon. So
yeah, this is the first time in the story that the stakes feel real, like they feel like they actually have weight to it. Pilaf is he is portrayed as a dangerous villain, but where he's more comedic, he doesn't ever really come off like an actual like threat to the world like the Red Ribbon Army does. So
how do you feel about the Red Ribbon Army arc in the manga? Because I know that a lot of people really love the manga version more than the anime. The anime adds a lot of filler, including entire members of Red Ribbon that that aren't even in the manga.
Yeah,
but I think the manga version is much easier to read. We could breeze through this thing.
Yeah, I do enjoy the manga version. I enjoy both versions, but I think the manga version is a little bit better paced. But that doesn't mean I'm not grateful for the extra content that came with the anime. I do think the manga is better paced, but I enjoy the anime too. So
people who I respect, like Mr. Fusion, straight up say that this is the best arc in all of Dragon Ball. I don't agree with that. I have a different opinion than he does, but I do understand why he loves this arc. So let me go ahead and get this super chat that we got before we even went live. This is from Jeremiah. He says, I think he messed up when he wrote smell, because even before then he corrected it, but it basically says like the smell, I think he's talking about the religious things that's used in Dragon Ball, and I think they were done well. What do you think? So I think what he's asking is the religious aspects of Dragon Ball. Now, we don't, like on Geekdom 101, the channel, I don't discuss, or any of my channels, I don't discuss religion or politics as far as debating them, but this is different. This is more about how Toriyama used them to put them into the series. And it wasn't just Toriyama. Toei did it as well. There is a lot in Dragon Ball from a lot of different religions. Eastern and Western. There's Buddhism in there, there's Taoism in there, there's Islam, there's Christianity, there's all kinds of stuff in Dragon Ball that Toriyama borrows. The reason why Derek's book is called Dragon Ball Culture is because there's so much culture in this series from all over the world, which is why it's been so successful.
Well, it's the title of the show is based on the film Enter the Dragon, right? And, Bruce Lee, a lot of people don't understand this about him because they think he was just like a martial arts TV star. But if you ever read his books, there are a lot of like older martial arts figures who have been around for a long time who had, their word was law in terms of whether or not to take Bruce Lee seriously. And they would straight up say Bruce Lee was an expert on Taoism and Zen Buddhism, and implementing that in his martial arts. That was openly stated about Bruce Lee as a martial artist. So that's part of the reason, not just that Journey to the West is a huge thing in Bruce Lee,
I forgot to put my headphones in. There, sorry, go ahead. Everyone can hear an echo now because
Bruce Lee himself was into Taoism and Buddhism. That's another reason that it's in the series, because this series it pays homage to Bruce Lee and Journey to the West in a very heavy way. So,
Robert wants to talk about Bubbles. We're not at that chapter yet, bro. We're going through the manga volume by volume. But and we're going to talk about Bruce Lee a lot on this stream. There is a lot of Bruce Lee in these chapters, and we have a lot to talk about. Let me get this other super chat here from Xavier. You're so generous, bro. I appreciate it. Why would you agree or disagree that the Saiyan saga is the best saga, and what would sagas would you say are better? I think what he's asking is, do we think the Saiyan arc is the best arc? Now, I guess what we can do, Jordan, to kind of give him a full answer is we'll give him two answers. We'll give him the manga or the anime. So, do you think that the Saiyan saga is the best arc in all of Dragon Ball?
No, I do enjoy the Saiyan art, but the Piccolo stuff will always be my favorite
You
stuff
mean
in Dragon Ball.
Demon King Piccolo or the
From
23rd tournament?
all of it, from Demon King Piccolo, I consider that one big arc. That's like my portion of Dragon Ball that I personally take as my favorite portion of the series. It's just that small portion of the series.
You and I are very much alike. However, I want to put an asterisk on this. The anime version of the Piccolo arc significantly better than the manga.
It's very good.
We're going to get to it. We're going to get to it whenever we get to Piccolo arc, but there are a lot of issues with that arc that I have, and there's reasons for it. Toriyama himself gave reasons. The Saiyan arc is not the best arc in Dragon Ball for me, but anime-wise, and I'm not talking about Kai, I'm talking about Z. The Saiyan arc is my second favorite. The reality is, ladies and gentlemen, probably mostly gentlemen, the reality is that the filler in the Saiyan arc should be taught in school on how to properly do filler. Yes, there are some issues there, but there are so many episodes in Z that are not in the manga that I love and I adore. Nappa and Vegeta going to Arlia is one. The episode where Gohan goes to the orphans and then he learns a lesson there. The ones where the Z fighters go back in time to fight the ancient Saiyans. There is just so much greatness there.
Mm-hmm.
So when you say the Piccolo arc, are you talking about the anime or the manga as far as being your favorite?
Both.
When you say that. All right,
Both.
that's fair. No, hey, it is what it is.
Don't get me wrong. I really enjoy the Saiyan saga. It's just thematically, I really enjoy Goku's antics with Piccolo. I just think they're awesome. I really enjoy Kid Goku going through what he went through with King Piccolo, and then adult Goku going through it. The two stories work together so well and contrast each other so well. Now, if you want to consider like the Saiyan saga and the Frieza saga one big arc, like Xavier said here, that would be like my second favorite portion of all of Dragon Ball, is like that portion of the story. Don't get me wrong, it is an awesome portion of the story because it is where like the sci-fi elements for Goku's character really come in. But just it's everything that happens thematically with Goku in the Piccolo arc that I really enjoy. Everything that's happening thematically with Goku in the Saiyan saga is derivative of what happened with Piccolo. So I think that's part of the reason that I don't really hype it up in comparison. But I just really enjoy like the progression for Goku in those two arcs.
Yeah, I don't count Saiyan and Frieza together, but you could because one naturally goes into the other, just like the Piccolo arcs do. Yeah, I mean, I just think that the filler in the Demon King Piccolo arc and the Saiyan arc is the right way to do it. Even the Frieza saga's got some bad filler. All right, this question right here we're gonna get to the manga now. We're into chapter 55, which is the beginning of the new arc. Well, let me get Justin's question. If you were to rank top 5 Dragon Ball stories, what would they be? Are you talking about story arcs? Because if that's the case, we kind of already gave our top 2. For me, I guess it would be 23rd tournament, Saiyan saga, 22nd tournament, probably Cell Saga, and then the Frieza Saga at number 5. Those are my top 5.
I think the only switch up I would do is I would have Cell Saga before Frieza Saga. I actually like the Frieza Saga in the manga better than the Cell Saga in the
yeah manga. The manga version of Goku versus Frieza goes by really, really fast, really, really fast. So all right, well, let's go ahead and let's start this viewing here. So, again, you can tell it's a new arc. Toriyama starting things fresh. Son Goku has set out on another search, this time for the 4-star Dragon Ball his grandfather left him as a memento. At first glance, it seems like it'd be an easy journey, but, of course, nothing's ever easy. Happy-go-lucky Goku traveling around, and then we're introduced to our first member of Red Ribbon. In the anime version, there was a much longer introduction, and there was actually bonus episodes that showed Pilaf being involved at the very beginning of the arc with his airship. Now, I do want to obviously plug, if you haven't joined us on Twitch every Saturday, right now we're in the middle of the Piccolo arc, and now is when shit's getting good. Like, we're literally in what I consider the origin of what Dragon Ball Z would become, where it's super dark and super, like, you know, brooding, and there's you know, it's awesome. So
definitely go check out his Twitch streams. They're really fun.
Yeah, it's Saturday. I mean, I plugged them a bunch of times. Saturday at 1 p.m. This week, I'm back with 2 more episodes. So that's a very short chapter, yo. That's it. That's shorter than I expected. Well, actually, wait, that's not even the. That's weird that they're missing a page. I don't know. That's weird. All right, so this is like this character right here in the upper right is like the OG version of Former with a Shotgun, trying to use guns on metahumans. That ain't gonna work.
Yep.
I got to get that thing out of the way there. Goku makes quick work of him as well as his partner. Something that we can discuss here briefly is that early in Dragon Ball, Toriyama uses the anthropomorphic animal people. They're just living amongst regular people, and that's because he did it in Dr. Slump as well. And then as we get near the end of Z, when we go to Cell and Buu sagas, now we're seeing a lot more just regular humans. And Dragon Ball
another cool thing about this is that dog particularly is designed to look like Toriyama's pet dog. A lot of people don't know that. But that dog right there, particularly that design, is Toriyama drew a picture of his pet dog, and it looks just like that.
Right. I mean, same thing happened with his cat. Beerus and Godin are modeled after his cats. So, but yeah, let's move on here to the next page. I love that. The thing I like about this arc right here is illustrated. The weaponry that the Red Ribbon uses. Here you
could tell Toriyama was fanboying over drawing some military stuff in this.
We should talk about that. Toriyama is a huge fan of World War II historical stuff and vehicles like tanks and planes. He can draw realistic ones, and then like boom, he can draw like one that he just invents, like a science fiction one.
I don't know what the origin of his interest is in the military, but I would assume that it has something to do with his father, because he did say in an interview once that he enjoyed watching masculine films and stuff with his father in comparison to the material that his mother watched, which I assume is probably like old military movies and stuff like that. So that might be where that came from.
Right. And also what I love about this arc that I think, and we'll talk more about it as we go through, Goku is going up against heavy machinery here. And I actually, maybe it's me, but I actually really enjoy seeing a character destroy a bunch of fucking like planes and cars and guns, and Goku single-handedly wipes out the entire Red Ribbon Army, which would come back to bite him in the ass in the Z portion of the series. Also, I gotta plug the Red Ribbon Army Explained video. It's on the Geekdom 101 channel. It is over 30 minutes. It goes into each and every member of Red Ribbon and where Toriyama got the idea from and the inspiration, the backstory. And a lot of these characters were either actors or people who were characters in movies like James Bond movies and even old World War II movies, or some of them are based on real historical figures like General Blue, for instance. If you want more information on that, you must watch the Red Ribbon Army Explained video. I have 3 videos that are meant to be seen one after another. Red Ribbon Army Explained, which is like 30 minutes. Androids Explained, which is an hour, but we go through every android, even the ones that didn't even appear in the series. And the last but not least, Cell Explained. So all those are one big package.
So another really cool thing we'll talk about that a bit more, but this isn't the first time a character like Goku has fought an army. I'll just start off by saying it that way. But the Red Ribbon Army is a really cool like role reversal, and I'll discuss that a bit more as we get into it.
Well, one of the things that is prevalent in Japanese media when it comes to like superhumans, even in American media like comic books, is regular weapons, conventional weapons that we either have now or had at the time that it was written, do nothing. They don't do
Yeah,
anything. When you're
yeah,
dealing with a metahuman or a superhero, you have to have a super villain. You have to have a superhero stop them. But as you said, this is inverted. We usually see a villain destroying an army. Here we're seeing a hero destroying an army, but that's because the army is evil.
yeah.
So this ends up again. This fight is much longer, much longer in the anime. But again, this is going to begin the continuing story of Goku as a kid beating up on adults because that is what he does. He loves to beat up on adults, bro, and he does it here. This
It
whole
makes
thing.
awesome art. It makes awesome art seeing a little kid, like little martial arts kid, like going around beating up all these military figures. It's such a cool sight to see, you know. Like it's something that's just appealing to look at, you know.
No, I agree. And we're using the full color ones, but I also take a good look at that red ribbon plane that Goku's in. I don't know why he's in the plane, but it's just a little chapter opener. It's not actually part of the story. But that little plane is like a stealth bomber. And again, it's Toriyama, you know. There you go. Yash is talking about a comparison, a parallel that can be made between the Red Ribbon Army raid and the massacre of the 10,000 soldiers of heaven.
Yeah, that's he knew what I was talking about. That's what I
Well,
was going to get into.
elaborate more on that if you don't mind, because I mean we're
Okay.
going to talk more about it later. You're probably right about
Yeah.
that.
So here in a second, whenever Goku goes to invade the Red Ribbon Army Tower, and you see him like taking out all of those people in the military and stuff like that, that is essentially a role reversal of Sun Wukong going into heaven and taking out heaven's army. Like this entire thing is just like a reverse of what happened at the beginning of Journey to the West, except like modernized and done on Earth, where Sun Wukong by himself invades a military base and takes out 10,000 soldiers in heaven. So it's just a really cool role reversal in that way.
Right. And again, we can go back to the awesome paneling here where Goku is just. Well, how do you feel about Silver being the first guy?
I like Silver. I think he's cool. I think he kind of fits that trope of the guy who's in charge, but also is kind of a wuss in comparison to the people that he has, you know, underneath
like Blue.
him.
Like
Yeah,
Blue.
yeah. He fits that stereotype and that trope very well. That's what I like about
A
him.
lot of Frieza's men were like that too. Like they were bullying around the Namekians, but when Frieza came around, it was yes,
Yep.
Lord Frieza. Ultimately, man, and we've talked about this not on here, you and I, but we've had a lot of conversations about this. Goku beats up on a lot of bullies, and ultimately, like bullies are cowards. Anybody who picks on people weaker than them but doesn't want to pick on somebody stronger than them is a coward. Same thing if you talk shit behind the internet. Like if you, the reality is, if, and this is what Johnny and Cobra Kai said, if you've ever trashed somebody behind the keyboard, like, and I don't mean like criticism or just fucking around. I mean like you actually like say shit that you would never say in their face, you're basically a coward. Like whenever you play Xbox and you hear kids using the N-word and stuff like that, when you know they'd never say it in real life, like that's just cowardly. Like it just makes you a coward. You know what I mean?
Cobra Kai, bro. It's a great
Yeah.
show.
Yeah. I gotta do my review. I was gonna do my review. I gotta do my review for season 1 because I'm gonna do reviews for all the seasons until we get to 6. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. Goku pretty much has his way with him, bro. Like, look at that. He pretty much, this is fucked up. He pretty much snaps his neck there with that kick.
Yeah.
I love how in the anime version he goes back to the Red Ribbon base and he's sitting there in his boxing shit and he's like training and shit. Oh, there's Goku taking the. I completely forgot that Goku rode on the. I completely forgot that Goku rode on the stealth.
It's very similar to like the jet that he rode on and that we talked about in the last episode. Like it's a cool little nod to that as well. But I always thought this was hilarious because anytime the Dragon Ball Z filler episode comes on where he's like taking driving lessons, the two instances that I always think of are the motorcycle that he drives at literally the very beginning of Dragon Ball. This man has never had any driving lessons in his entire life, and
He
yet
just figured it out.
Yeah, he could just jump straight on that motorcycle and like jump in the air like Evil Knievel. And then this jet, he just jumps straight in it and goes. So it's funny.
Right. And then we have there, I want to talk about that robot. That is a classic
like thing going on there.
It's a classic Toriyama style robot. We see a lot of them, even if Toriyama is not the primary artist. There's one in the second Cooler movie inside of the Big Getty Star, and then there's another one in GT, Gil, aka Giru. And it's just a Toriyama styled robot. Like they're all over the place, like beyond Dragon Ball, they're everywhere. Now we go to the Red Ribbon Army base, which is far in the west. So we're still journeying to the west, and we're introduced to our two main antagonists of this arc, Commander Red and Assistant Black or Staff Officer Black. How do you feel about Red having white hair in the manga? Because in the anime it was red, in the manga it was white, and Colonel White was the one with the gray hair. How do you feel about that color change?
I prefer the red hair because to me it makes him look more like a Bond villain.
Me too.
But the white hair is not necessarily bad. I just prefer the red hair because it makes him look like a TV villain. It's very common that like a villain back in the day would have like red hair and be a hothead and
Right. Well, also I wanted to comment on he's basically like he is a hybrid of multiple villains. Again, more information in the Red Ribbon Army video I did. He's petting his cat and everything. He's got the eye patch. It's just classic James Bond. Assistant Black is basically just like your tippy top henchman. That's pretty much what he is. And no, I have not finished Sandland. Somebody in the chat was asking me about that. I actually took a break. I have other stuff going on. So I should mention here, okay. You fool, it's the death penalty because he's mad about the failure. So Goku taking the ship is now going to go up north. Now we're going to get to the snow level, as they say, the Hoth portion. And the whole thing about up north is we are now introduced to the Red Ribbon Army. It says here, Red Ribbon Army, White Squad Base. This is Muscle Tower. So this is the real sort of first act of the Red Ribbon Army arc is Muscle Tower. Now, I love the splash page there with Goku and White, who in this version has purple hair. Whatever. I don't hate it. It's nice. I recognize the differences. But this idea of a character going up certain levels in a pagoda, that's about as Asian as it gets. Bruce Lee's The Game of Death, which unfortunately he died before that movie was finished. They had to change the script and hire a lookalike to finish the film. He only has a few scenes in it, but the plan of that movie before it was changed was it was going to be about Bruce Lee going up a pagoda. And also that concept has been used in multiple video games like Spartan X, aka Kung Fu, where you're going up the levels. Any game that has levels.
They use it again. That's worth Saga too. They use it again in Boo Saga.
Right, but backwards. Yeah. But also, I think the term levels comes from this. Like when you say, "Oh, I'm going to level 2 in any game," I think it comes from this. Also, Final Fantasy VII. I have not played Rebirth, but I know in the somebody in the chat already said Final Fantasy VII. That's good. They caught it. Final Fantasy VII, you have the Yuffie side quest in the Asian village, and that's also a pagoda. So what is the Journey to the West equivalent of Muscle Tower?
The Journey to the West equivalent, I guess, would just be him going up into heaven and climbing his way up into heaven, the higher levels of heaven, because all of like Taoist deitism is split up into like a column like setup for like the hierarchy of divine beings. So it could have something to do with that. But I think more than anything, it's just a Bruce Lee reference. Um, I think this is where Toriyama really started taking from like every movie and like thing that he's fascinated with in a more blatant way than he was before. Not that he wasn't doing it in the two previous arcs, but in this specific arc, you can, he references Star Wars, he references Bruce Lee, he references Frankenstein, he references Terminator. Like it's just one thing after another,
He borrows ideas from so many things. I was gonna do a video, I may still do it, about like the top 10 movies that Dragon Ball borrowed from, and you named a bunch of them there. I mean, you named a bunch of them. The Cinderella, like there's a lot. Again, Dragon Ball is filled with just so much stuff. They borrow from Godzilla. The way I kind of see it is the more stuff that you're into, and I don't mean necessarily just manga or anime. I mean like stuff, any kind of entertainment, Eastern or Western movies. The more stuff that you're into, the more Dragon Ball will appeal to you, because Toriyama was probably into it too. And that's the bummer about his passing, is that we're dealing with a guy who may have been a lot more like us than we thought. And that's kind of cool for a living, well, no longer living, but at the time, a living legend who changed the game forever. Like, to know that he's just a man, a talented man, but just a man who likes to go to movies in disguises. I mean, it's just crazy.
It is. It's wild.
Let me highlight this for just a moment here. He says, I had a theory, didn't pan out. The major villains in the Red Ribbon Army represent martial arts belts: white, blue, yellow, black, swap from red. And at the end, he becomes a master by beating his old master. Well, that's not that crazy. That is not that crazy, because that actually makes sense. I don't know if you know, but in some Brazilian jiu-jitsu disciplines, red belt is higher than black belt. Black belt's high, but there is a red belt, like in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. I believe only Helio Gracie and his brother, I think, and maybe Hickson, they have a red belt, which is the highest belt you can get, only for the absolute grand masters. Like only guys like Yoda, who are ancient guys, can get that. So yes, there is. I didn't even think of that, like, because silver was first, but technically here's white. Is that the white belt?
Yeah.
I feel like an idiot for not thinking about that till now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Black belt's the highest rank in most martial arts. That's why black's the final villain here, but also red. So in this portion of the story, Goku's meeting new heroes. We have Snow, who is referred to as Suno in the dub. I don't know why they call her that. Her name is Snow, an English word. More dub bullshit. But also, I think what they were trying to do here, and I could be wrong, but it feels like Toriyama was trying to replicate the formula, and Snow is a replacement for Bulma, and maybe Ader Hachan is a replacement for Krillin. Like, it's almost like he's going back to just having Goku meet new people, like we did at the beginning.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I don't think this is the last time he does that either. But.
No, I don't think it is at all. Goku's always meeting new people, but it just kind of feels that way. So the Red Ribbon Army bust into the house, and poor Snow can't do anything but Goku to the rescue. I don't remember. This is covered in the Red Ribbon video. But isn't the guy, that dog guy, isn't his name Vegeta? Wasn't that the first Vegeta in Dragon Ball? Remember, that's like a trivia question. Who was Vegeta before Vegeta?
I think I remember you saying something about that. Yeah,
I did. It's in that video.
I don't know if it's this dog guy or if it's the one or if it's another one. But yeah, I think that you might be right.
Yeah, I forget which one it is too. But because I did all my research for the video, dumped it all into the video, and then I was like, okay, the story's been told. Yeah, the story's been told. So Goku gets gear for the cold, and this scene right here where he attacks Muscle Tower, because obviously he now realizes that the army is not good news. And of course, Snow and the family give that to him. This is a classic scene in the anime that was reenacted. It was redone by Kubota in Dragon Ball Superhero at the beginning with the opening montage.
I know that's just like a stereotypical Russian outfit. But
yeah, for the cold.
You know what it reminds me of though? There's a movie, I can't remember the title of the movie, but there's a movie where Robert Williams is like a Russian guy.
Robin Williams.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but like he's like a Russian guy who like escapes Russia and like goes to the United States and like tries to start a family and stuff like that. It reminds me of the outfit that he wears in that movie.
Right. And then we have, of course, Goku. They're blasting at him, but Goku is literally using the Nyoibo to deflect the bullets, which is one of the most badass things ever. He can take the bullets, but he's going to deflect them. Then he extends them and whacks this motherfucker at the front gate. I love Toriyama here using the perspective of the Nyoibo popping it out of the panel. Again, we've talked about it every week. This man, the way he would sit down and like format a page is wild. He had to have had the entire page in his head ahead of time. And remember, he was on a deadline, and he oftentimes has been historically reported he wouldn't even work on the shit until right before release. So if he had, it was a weekly manga, so if he had 3 days, or if he had 5 days to do it, he wouldn't start working on it until day 3, and he'd get it done somehow. So again, amazing
Monster.
Yeah, we're now at chapter 58, the horror of Muscle Tower. We're going to go in the tower. But first, let me answer this super chat from some other dude. He says, Jordan says, what would be this is for Jordan. We're going to do yours first. What would be the easiest way to read all of Journey to the West? With your eyes is my answer, but what do you think?
There is a free PDF on Journey to the West Research's Twitter. You can go. He has in every language. You can. It's pinned to the top of his profile. You can go just type in Journey to the West Research. Look for him on Twitter. He has a PDF pinned to the top of his profile that you can read the actual book. In terms of other books, Journey to the West, The Tao Te Ching, and Bruce Lee's The Tao of Kung Fu are the 3 books you need to read as a Dragon Ball fan. You need to read the Tao Te Ching so you can understand concepts in Taoism and how they're implemented into martial arts. Bruce Lee teaches you that in more detail. He teaches you how Taoism and Buddhism had an effect on martial arts. And then Journey to the West is an allegory for it's symbolic storytelling of the concepts that Bruce Lee himself talks about. So when Bruce Lee talks about the ego and martial arts and stuff like that, Sun Wukong is a literal, like, symbolic representation of our ego as a martial artist. So
I put the link right there for y'all. That's the guy's name, McClan Jr.
And follow Journey to the West Research too, because
that's him. No, that's him. That is Journey to the West Research.
Yeah. Follow if you click that link, follow him too. He's an amazing researcher. But those 3 books are what I would suggest. So the Tao Te Ching, Journey to the West, and Bruce Lee's The Tao of Kung Fu. You could read Bruce Lee's first book, which is basically the philosophy of Chinese Kung Fu, but it's got a lot more like diagrams and stuff like that about how to actually practice martial arts, like stances and stuff like that. It's not as much about the philosophical stuff, but I would definitely recommend The Tao of Kung Fu, The Tao Te Ching, and Journey to the West. Those 3 books. Read those 3 books.
Yes, he goes on to ask me, are there any other series you haven't discussed before that you recommend that DB takes aspects of? Keep being awesome. Thank you. I've covered most of them already. The Terminator series and the Alien series, these movies, James Bond, any Eastern like martial arts film from Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, even the Shaw brothers. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot.
Fun.
And also was Splat in the Discord the night that we watched what the hell is that? We talked about last week, the Jet Li and Jackie Chan movie with the Journey to the West.
Oh, the Forbidden Kingdom?
Forbidden Kingdom, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he was in there or not, but I would definitely watch that.
I would definitely do that. Kiryu says, are y'all going all the way to the super manga? No. Nope.
Just doing all the original run.
All the Toriyama stuff. This is all about Toriyama. However, I am considering someday getting on here with Jordan and doing maybe some other Toriyama stuff like Sandland as a bonus episode. Because I've got a PDF of Sandland or whatever, this CBR of Sandland that we could look at along with a few other. We can do that, but super manga, bro, is Toyotaro writing half of it, and it's just not the same, bro. It's like when I'm on Twitch And people are like, "Are you gonna watch Super?" And it's like, I don't think so, because everybody's already seen Super. It's not that old. Like we're going back
Yeah.
to the old school stuff.
Yeah, and
Um,
plus, you know, if you're wanting to, you can watch this and feed the information into Super if you're interested in Super. You know, you can
yeah.
just take what we
Plus,
you can just
yeah,
take what we say here and just use it to enhance your experience of Super. But
yeah.
yeah, I think we're just gonna run through the original run.
Yeah, this series was meant, and we planned this before Toriyama passed away. This series was meant for us to go back to the core story before Toei, before filler, before Totoro, and just look at what Toriyama, what the man himself did.
Yeah.
Also, Splat, you weren't there for that stream, and you missed it. But I would definitely advise you to pick up that movie with Jet Li and Jackie Chan. I bought it on Blu-ray. I think it only cost me like $7 or $8, and it was worth it. That's a good movie, dude.
It is a great
Even
movie.
if you're not a Dragon Ball fan, that is a good movie. So, I like how Goku just opens the door and just closes it. He just doesn't give a fuck. And here's a bunch of guys turning around just looking at him like he does not care, bro. And he's about to clean up the room. This entire arc, you want to know what this arc reminds me of? And I want y'all in the chat to let me know if you've ever done this. It reminds me of like when you play a video game. Let's say you already beat the game, and then you go back and you play it with like God mode codes, and you're just going around fucking everybody up just for fun. Like
Yeah, it is like that. It's like he's got cheat codes in for sure.
Kava said, "Do you have hair?" Are you talking about between my legs or here? Like, does this not count as being hair, bro? It must be new, bro. Somebody asked me if I have hair. It's like you got to be. That has to be your first time.
The movie we recommended was The Forbidden Kingdom.
Yeah, yeah, that's the one with Jet Li and Jackie Chan. That borrows a lot from Journey to the West. Little too close to Manga Storian. No, this is the Mangalorian, and it's based on Mandalorian. I see you balding. No, I am not balding. I have a big forehead. There is nothing bald about my head. See, I just have a big forehead, bro. I am not balding.
Right.
So, this guy said, when will this shit come back to TV? Manga isn't really on TV, bro. It's a book that you read. So I don't know. I mean, you can read it on, you can watch us on TV. Anyways, to get back to the story. So Goku, so again, this is like going into God mode. This is like straight up like just, smashing motherfuckers for fun, Mandalorian isn't a manga though. I'm just gonna ignore you, bro, because now you're like being pedantic. And we're trying to fucking cover this. If you have a problem with the name of the stream, bro, tough shit. Tough titty, said the kitty. Like, get out of here, dude. So, Goku just wore everybody out. Weapons or not. I mean, look at this. And I just love how, like, I also love how in the full colors, notice how each panel has like a slightly different color in the background.
Yes,
I think that's
we talked about that in the last.
But we have to clarify something. That color may not have been approved by Toriyama because the people that released the full color versions was not Toriyama. Toriyama is still the author and the artist, but the colors were done by somebody else at Shueisha.
Right.
So there you go.
But here we go. We got a Terminator reference. Very obvious, clear Terminator reference.
And it's also a reference to Terminator 1. Terminator, the first one from 1984, James Cameron, classic movie, not Terminator 2. We're going to get that later on with the Android saga. But yes, this giant robot named Sergeant Metallic, Major Metallitron in the English dub, kind of too many syllables there, but Sergeant Metallic against Goku. And of course, Murasaki the ninja is the guy kind of behind this. I don't know if we talked about this in this video. Again, watch my Red Ribbon Army Explain video. But Murasaki, I believe doesn't Murasaki translate to purple or something like that? Like
I think so.
Yeah, so it's like a double pun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the full color pages are in some of the other some of the other what do you call it?
We're getting ready
Like
to get to one of
releases.
my favorite topics to discuss in the fandom in the next few pages.
Let me get this question from Zarar. He says, "Did the Dragon Ball ever take inspiration from other mythologies? I'm aware of Chinese and Egyptian, but I wonder if there's anything like more like
Look,
Greek. Everything, everything.
yeah, look up Derek Padula. He talks specifically
Padula,
or Padula. Yeah, look up Derek
Padula.
Padula.
Is that how
Yeah.
you've been saying his name?
No, I just say it like that every once in a while. Same thing with Chris Sabat and Chris Sabat. I just say their name wrong sometimes.
Yeah,
But yeah, look up Derek Padula. He knows his stuff when it comes to like how exactly they use each religion. Like he did like a whole diagram where he explains in detail how each religion is specifically implemented in Dragon Ball. So definitely go check that out.
it would take forever, man, because for us to talk about it, because it's very, very like granular. Because there's little things about different mythologies and religions all throughout Dragon Ball. Little tiny things we can pick apart. Let me get this other super chat here from Kiryu, the Dragon Warrior. Dragon Warrior is good. Too many people disrespect Tori, OGDB, me personally reading OG to SH, I guess superhero, and having learned beforehand how Tori wrote stuff made the journey feel great. Well, I've always said this about Dragon Ball is the more you get into it, the better it becomes. It's not like certain things where when you get into them, they get worse over time. Dragon Ball, and I'm talking about the original Dragon Ball and Z. Like I'm talking about what Toriyama wrote and the old animes. When you get in, the more you get into that and learn about it, the better it gets. That's how it's been for me, anyways. What about you?
Yeah, exactly. It enhances the experience. That's the entire reason. So what Toriyama does, he purposely does this. He purposely puts this kind of stuff in his stories. So if you're like him and you can get the deep cuts that he puts in the series, you can enjoy it that much more and enhances the experience. He knows what he's doing. Like the story itself is extremely simple. And so in order to add extra layers to a very simple story so you can enjoy it that much more, this is the technique that he's implementing. It's very similar to what he does with Dr. Slump. It's the same thing. There are extra layers to the comedy in Dr. Slump because he's referencing specific characters and having specific events play out based on the characters that he's referencing in the series. It's a Toriyama technique.
Right. Xavier says, what do you think is more impressive? Tenshinhan sending Yamcha's Kamehameha wave back at him, or Son Goku blocking Krillin's with one hand? I don't know what you have to say, Jordan. They're both pretty cool, but I think the one-handed block, anything when you block with one hand or Jiren with one finger is always pretty badass. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the block.
It's just raw, bro. All right, so of course Goku here. Let me get back to the manga in the lower right. Want to fight? That's the character of Goku, the continuous martial artist. And here we go with the rocket punch, except 16 really had the rocket punch. Too slow. Goku's too fast. Goku punches him. However, he's made of metal, and Goku realizes it too, because as he comes down, like he feels it. And I just love how all of this. I like all of this, especially that panel in the lower left where like Toriyama didn't draw the rest of his body, just his arms around Goku. It just emphasizes that he's squeezing his ass.
Right.
I love it. I love it. Excuse me. And then Goku with the big kick, and it's not over yet. It's a cliffhanger going into chapter 59. Now, this chapter is called
right there. I want to talk about that top panel. So Goku,
this one up here with the kick. Oh, that's awesome.
Forward, yeah, dude, like that right there is so innovative on Toriyama's part. Like if
you've ever doing that before too.
If you've ever tried to do manga, if you've ever tried to like actually do what Toriyama does, you can really get an understanding of just how innovative and talented Toriyama was as a manga creator, as somebody who creates manga specifically, not just as a writer or as an artist, but his like how he does manga is like unmatched. It's just unbelievable. And that page in particular, I think, is a good example of that.
I agree. Just all of it, everything there, even metallics like Big Mouth Scream. And then the next page, the splash page, this is something that I love from the manga. that is not really in the anime as much as they should be, when Toriyama draws little guides to help us out. So there you see on the right page, you see the 5 layers of Muscle Tower with white on the top, of course, the top floor, a mystery opponent on the one before, Murasaki, Metallic, and then the first floor, which is the guys he already beat up. So it's already kind of telling you what Goku's quest is going to be going up to. Oh, I'm sorry, the first floor is the infantry. Second floor is the non-commissioned officers' headquarters. So this is Toriyama not only telling you what Goku's journey is going to be, but also what I love about it is like it's giving you more lore about the Red Ribbon Army. This is information that isn't really necessary for the story to work because it's not in the anime at all, but it's in the manga. Now we know that the second floor has the non-commissioned officer quarters and the first floor's infantry quarters. It might not seem like a big deal, but it is extra lore, and this is the Mangalorian.
Right. Well, I mean, Toriyama, when he comes up with a concept, there's normally a lot of lore that he has in the back of his mind that we never actually get to see. Like, for example, with Daima coming up, there's a lot of, hype and hints and stuff around Daima being about the demon realm. And Toriyama has expanded on the demon realm in interviews and talked about it in great length, but he's never actually used it in the series. So Toriyama is really good at like padding out concepts, even if he doesn't implement them in the series itself. He does actually think about what he wants these entities to actually be as a whole, as a concept. And he's always got stuff in the back, more lore in the back. Well, he did always have more lore in the back of his mind in terms of these characters and concepts.
Right. And he Daima is gonna open up a lot of open up the world to more, or the universe, multiverse, whatever, to more world building. And that's always a good thing, even though I still feel like, and I'm going to say this till the cows come home, I think Super was untapped potential. I think we have 11 other universes. There could have been so much cool shit to see. And we may still get cool shit to see in the other universes, but with Toriyama not being around, like
it'll never be Toriyama.
Yeah, they can say it's Toriyama's notes, but how much of it is Toriyama's notes? There's a lot of things that I feel like at the end of the day, when we look at Dragon Ball Super, I'm talking about in like 20 years, I think some folks are going to love the ride. Like I loved the ride when it was happening, but when you look back at it compared to Dragon Ball and Z, it's very unfocused, and I don't think history's going to be too kind to it. I think it'll just be seen as it'll be popular, but not anywhere near the power of the original series.
I like how in the last arc, in the last episode, Goku tries to stomp on Roshi, and right here,
you talking about the last arc? You mean?
Yeah, and right here, Goku almost gets stomped on.
And I love that panel in the upper left too, with where you see the size difference, the David and Goliath thing. It's classic. There's another Bible reference, David and Goliath. Anytime you see a little guy against a big guy, it's David and Goliath, except that in this case, Goliath is massive. Goku with the big headbutt. And one of the movies, he does that shit to Metallic and headbutts his whole head off, which I thought was awesome. Dragon Ball Movie 3, Mystical Grand Adventure. And now here's an ability that Terminator, the T-800, Cyberdyne Systems Model 101 did not have, and that's firing rockets out of his mouth.
That's
so wacky. It's so wacky, man. That's something else. I think people take this series a little too seriously.
That's some Mortal Kombat stuff.
Cyrax or whatever, or smoke out of the chest. Yeah. Okay. The explosion happens, which blows a hole in the side, and White is pissed off about it. Goku's obviously knows that they can't sense his energy. He doesn't even know how to do it right. Goku fires. Huh?
Somebody was complimenting one of my videos. I was just thanking them. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay, good. Sector. Oh yeah, because Cyrax has the net. Cyrax throws the green net. Sector is the one with the missiles and smoke. Right. But then there's the Sub-Zero one that fucking, from Mortal Kombat 9. Yeah, Sector has the rockets, yeah. So again, Kamehameha, it looks like he's gonna die, but all that happens is his head gets blown off, which means that he is dead, except he's a robot, so his body's still moving, and there's the rocket punch right there, which we would see
Yeah, the
again
rocket punch is awesome. It's one of my favorite like moves in fiction. It's so cool.
You know, today they announced the Marvel versus Capcom like collection for the Switch.
Ooh,
And
that's awesome.
have you ever played Marvel vs. Capcom 2 in the arcades?
I was actually in a Marvel vs. Capcom 2 tournament when I was a kid at a Comic-Con and won.
Did you ever play? Did you ever play against what I have to call loser Japanese kid who picks fucking Sentinel and stands in the back and he goes rocket punch, rocket punch, rocket punch?
Trust me, I know
punch,
exactly what you're talking about.
This motherfucker would be in the back of the fucking the back of the fucking screen. Rocket punch, rocket punch, rocket punch.
Yep.
Most annoying thing in history, bro.
That character, Sentinel and Venom, were two of the most utilized characters in tournaments. Also, Ryu was implemented a lot, but yeah.
What about Spiral? Because I never learned how to use her, but some friends of mine mastered her, bro.
Yeah, she is pretty good. She is pretty good, but she wasn't necessarily like a tournament pick. But yeah, she is good.
Yeah, I mean Ryu's the classic Street Fighter. Like that's. By the way, I picked up all 4 of the Fatal Fury animated movies. I have them all now on Blu-ray. I'm thinking about streaming them at some point or watching them in the server because those are some badass fucking movies, bro.
So moving on, this next part of the of what happened is very important. So
here, are we going here or back?
The next part. Oh no, go back. The part where he knocks okay. So if you'll look at the very bottom left panel, you will see that Goku is doing a Buddhist prayer because he thought he killed Major Metallic. Now, this is very, very, very important because this discusses the idea. First of all,
go into it because that's what they wanted to hear today, the religious stuff.
So first of all, he says the prayer wrong, and that's done on purpose to show you that Goku doesn't have a very he doesn't have a complicated understanding of religious ideology. He is just a Buddhist by nature because he was raised by Grandpa Gohan. Grandpa Gohan was a Buddhist, and because Grandpa Gohan was a Buddhist martial artist, Goku is a Buddhist by nature. Okay, that's something that a lot of people don't pick up on, is that Goku is not necessarily religious. He just had these concepts ingrained to him as a child, and so they're part of who he actually is, of his being. Now, I want you to understand that this goes into the idea that Goku learned not to kill from Android 8, which is wrong. That is not wrong. That is not right. That is a huge misconception. That it is the case at all. Goku naturally feels guilt for killing people sometimes, but if somebody's doing injustice and doing wrong, his moral obligation is to help everybody else who does not deserve to be mistreated or to deal with said injustice. It's not that Goku is like a sociopathic, psychopathic, narcissistic killer. That's not who Goku is.
I'm sure some dub fans think he is.
He does kill, but he only kills because he is an instinctual being and he runs on instinct. He's like a wind-up toy. If his instincts are telling him, hey, I need to wipe these people out for the betterment of myself and everybody else on the planet, he's just going to do it. He's not going to put any narcissistic or evil thought into his actions. He's just going to run on instinct and do what he feels is right, within the core of his being. So that's the reason that Goku is like way more nuanced as a character than people like to think. That's the reason that at certain points in the stories, he can wipe out an entire army and not blink twice. And then at another point in the story, he kills a robot and he feels guilty about it because he's a very in the moment character. And if everybody around him is a danger to his life and the people around him, because he is naturally prone to violence, he's going to protect everyone and do what he has to survive and keep everybody else alive. So it's basically the ideas of martial arts embodied into a character. Martial arts is not necessarily supposed to be used to kill your opponent, but if you do kill your opponent, and Roshi talks about this in the series, you're supposed to do it without malicious intentions. You're not supposed to put conscious malicious thoughts into killing anyone. You don't want to do it to make them suffer or make them feel bad or like, punish them in any real way. It's just something you have to do by necessity. And I just think I think that's something that people overlook about Goku, and I think it's very, very important.
I had it planned for later this year, and I probably will do it. I do have a video planned that's going to explain why Goku decided to not kill people when he got older. There is a real development there. And that's why, Jordan, as you and I have talked about, anybody who says Goku got no development in Dragon Ball has only seen Z and has never really paid attention to Dragon Ball, because there's a whole lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
So at this point, Metallic is done. And the next opponent is going to be Murasaki the Ninja. Now, this, I think when we get to this chapter 60, we kind of regress a bit back into it being more comedic. It kind of goes back and forth, because some of the General Blue stuff is really funny and some of it's just more like espionage stories. So Toriyama is kind of fucking around with different genres and subgenres. So I love this whole, again, this is borrowed right from stuff like Star Trek, and we saw something like this in Star Trek The Next Generation, which is like an indoor of the tower, there's like a little mini like village, like there's trees. Yeah. What would you even call that? It's like an arcology or something like that. There's like a name for it.
I can't remember, but yeah, there is a specific name for it, but I cannot remember what it is.
So Murasaki, being a ninja master, prefers to have an environment that reminds him of growing up or whatever. So,
well, it also plays to his advantage tactically. If he's a ninja, it's not going to do him any good to be in an environment where he can't, hide and take advantage of what ninjas do.
Right, so. Right. Robert Alexander Stevens, bro. This guy, I don't know. I guess school's out. I'm going to answer this question because he asked, what about Arcosians? Are Arcosians mentioned in Dragon Ball? Go to my channel, type in Arcosians Explained, and watch the entire video. You'll get your answer.
Bro. I remember that movie.
Yeah, I guess it is like a biodome, right?
Yeah.
All right, so moving on. Like you said, Murasaki throwing all kinds of different ninja moves, like, the katanas. Well, we haven't got to katanas yet. He's got a katana, but like the ninja stars and all that stuff. And this fight does end up being really, really goofy. But in a way, Murasaki's kind of endearing,
Yeah. I like because the thing is like Toriyama's playing on a bunch of classic
hide and seek and shit like that.
Things that ninjas do, but he's doing it within basically he's making fun of ninjas. That's actually if you look at it, that's actually what
it's a parody of a ninja. It's a parody.
Yeah, he's like, the concept of a ninja is cool, but in practice, it's kind of silly. But yeah, like it's just a funny way of criticizing things, which Toriyama does multiple times in the manga.
Right. He and here we've got Goku playing hide and seek. Again, there's the famous joke here is he's hiding in the water with a little sort of breathing tube, and then Goku puts fucking hot tea in there and it burns him. I would have pissed in it. I would have pissed in it if I was Goku. Yeah, you can see it up there.
In theory, it could work. In theory, that could work. But would it actually work in practice? You know what I mean? I think that's kind of what Toriyama is trying to say here. You can craft all these cool like ninjutsu-based concepts, but that doesn't actually mean they're going to practically work in an actual real-life scenario. I think that's what Toriyama is trying to point out here.
Now, these panels right here are phenomenal because they all convey speed. They
Yeah.
all convey speed, and Toriyama uses all kinds of different artistic techniques, like, for example, blurring the background, using lines. That's all meant to illustrate to the human eye that that's speed, and we see a lot of it here.
Yeah, like I said, Toriyama's unmatched.
Right, and don't forget, we are watching the anime on Twitch every Saturday. I will be back there this coming Saturday. Moving on. So we're not done yet because Murasaki has a few more twists up his sleeve. Moving on to chapter 61, Ninpo, the fourth tatami counter. Continuing where we left off. Now here comes the katana, and Goku's got, of course, the Nyoibo. At this point, we know that the Nyoibo is a sacred item, but we don't really know how sacred. But this moment right here is absolutely classic. He sticks the Nyoibo right into the ground, and Murasaki lands on it, and the Nyoibo, aka the power pole, the Nyoibo goes right up his fucking ass, bro. Goku, I'm just gonna say it, bro. Goku sodomized Murasaki the ninja.
Poor guy. I don't think any villain has been done this dirty.
You might be right. He was humiliated.
He really was. I mean, the only person I think that comes close is General Blue getting killed by Tao's tongue. But this guy was never, like, nothing really matches this, though.
Right. Is there a scene in Journey to the West where Wukong puts his staff up someone's ass?
I don't think so. I don't think there's any there's anything like that.
Maybe on the Pornhub version. Maybe that one has. I don't know. But and I also, again, talking about speed here in the lower right, we see more of that. And then the big shocker is that Goku's Nyoibo actually breaks the katana, which, again, this is congruent with the fact that it's a sacred artifact. It's just that we don't know it's a sacred artifact. I mean, we know, but we don't know how sacred until much later in the series. I'm not sure if Toriyama planned it that way, but he definitely made sure that we remembered that staff is extremely magical.
Yeah, it's based on a magical artifact, so I would say he had it at least in the back of his mind the whole time.
Yeah, the one that Wukong had himself.
Yeah.
Wukong. So here he decides to retreat back into his little house there. We're about to see the big revelation of, well, you'll see. But the ninja star going right into his forehead right there in the lower right, that panel feels like it's right out of Dr. Slump. Or like,
yeah,
what's that movie called? Kung Pao. It's like Kung Pao.
Oh yeah, Kung Pao stuff, yeah.
Very much like Kung Pao. Chapter 62, Danger, Bushin no Jutsu. So yeah, I think a lot of people who watch Naruto will be familiar with the word jutsu being used over and over again. It is a magic thing.
Well, yeah, every jutsu is magic, but it's also like it's a bit more complicated because jutsu in some cases gets mixed up with using chi, right? So like, I mean, don't get me wrong, in most forms of magic, there's some sort of energy source that they tap into in different forms of fiction. But what's really interesting about jutsu-based techniques is they are chi-based magical techniques, which is why, even flying in Dragon Ball is considered a jutsu.
Right. It's called Buku Jutsu.
Yeah, like a lot of people don't understand this, but like jutsu itself is basically chi manipulation, which is basically reality manipulation. Even the very concept of being able to manipulate chi is that you are manipulating reality. People don't want to admit that, but Goku, in a way, is kind of using magic. Like,
well, it's called in fiction, it's called a magic system. It's not literal magic.
Yeah, it's not sorcery where you're like Goku.
Well, we'd see that later.
Yeah, Piccolo, the closed beam, for example, would be more similar to like sorcery and like actual magic. Whereas this is just like a very Asian-centric form of what people consider magic, where you're just manipulating chi, which is considered a form of reality manipulation. So,
oh, there we go. And like we talked about, I forget when we talked about this. I know I talked about it before, but when Goku powers up, or any character, when any character powers up a ki blast, they're manipulating the atoms around them and igniting them. So it is a form of magic in that sense, because these types of things don't exist in the real world. Maybe we're lucky they don't.
Well,
So,
and it's very typical in like games and stuff that throwing a fireball is magic. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, it is.
yeah,
And of course, the Hadoken is right out of the Kamehameha.
yeah.
So I like these couple of chapters, because we don't really see this type of biodome. I mean, I think Dr. Brief has one, but how many of these do we see? Like, not
Toriyama
many.
did a whole humanitarian. He did a whole manga. I can't remember the name of it. It's been so long since I've looked into all this stuff.
Mhm.
But he did a whole like manga talking about biodiversity, and like it was like a pro-environmental manga. And in that manga, there's a bunch of biodomes on a planet, and the planet is being invaded by the Tektekians, which are a group of aliens that Toriyama references multiple times.
I forgot the name of the damn. I know what you're talking about, but I forgot.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Carble's wife is based on the Tektekians, but they invade that planet because the planet is so biodiverse, because they use biodomes and they're trying to actually take care of the environment of their planet. But anyway, Toriyama, he really likes the concept of a biodome. He's used it more than once in his manga.
Xavier, we should get this question here. Do you think anyone or anything in OGDB, not Z or after, could break the power pole? Maybe like Kami, because he's God. That's about it, right? I can't think of anything.
Maybe.
Maybe King Piccolo. Maybe Demon King Piccolo.
Maybe.
But that's about it, right?
I don't even know. Well, I mean, look, it's really based on like what your interpretation of how powerful the Nyoibo is. But if I was going to put like a level of toughness on the Nyoibo, I don't think it should be able to be broken until we get to.
I agree. It's like the Bansho fan. These things should not break. They're too magical.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm with you. But I'm saying that's why I said possibly Kami, because if the Nyoibo, if the power pole was created as a vessel to transport man into God, which we'll talk about soon in a future edition of Mangalorian, then he would be the one to have created it. At least they never actually say definitively that Kami created the power pole. But if it wasn't the Kami that we know of, the Namekian, it was probably whoever was the previous god of Earth prior to him. Somebody, yeah. I think the Nyoibo is without question a divine weapon or item, artifact. It's no question from the gods, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It's like the Poltara. Yeah.
Or the Z sword or whatever. Yeah.
All that shit. The Dragon Balls. You know, those are, yeah. So this is the part I was talking about. Bunshin no Jutsu, which is basically, it's called the self-replication technique. And this is meant to basically, it's sort of like a Zanzo-ken, but he's got multiple copies of himself surrounding Goku. We would see this again a few times in the series, but the big...
This is a Zuko version of that technique.
Yeah, this is one of the weirdest twists that Toriyama did, that even to this day, it's a weird idea. You know what I mean? And I'm referring to the fact that all 5 of these Murasakis are actually twin brothers. Like, it's not just... it's not an illusion. They're actually all twin brothers. I don't know if I like that. Like, it's kind of funny, but... to think that they all look exactly the same, like identical, when you know they wouldn't, like not that identical. I don't know. There's something weird about this one.
I do think it's something that Toriyama kind of pulled out on the fly. I don't think he really intended for that to be the case. But I mean, it's funny. You know, if Murasaki was going to be a more prominent character, I would say it might be kind of problematic. But since it's just like a one-shot thing, I don't really see the issue with it.
Also, we didn't see all 5 of them get killed, did we?
No.
See, that's something else they could pull back someday, even though I doubt that they will. So now it's 5 ninjas against Goku. Goku doesn't give a shit. There he is with the Nyoibo once again, ready to fight. Wait. Okay, never mind. I thought I saw something. So again, more awesome action with Goku just fucking them up. It's played up for comedy. In the anime, it's much longer, but Goku pretty much just smashes these fucking guys, and they mean nothing. And then as Goku's about to move up to the next level, Murasaki's not dead, and he escapes first, and that will take us to the next level of the pagoda, which is chapter 63, and the introduction of android number 8, which is Jinzo Ningo, was it Hachigo, which is Ader or Hachan. So obviously, like you mentioned earlier, there's a Frankenstein influence. This is right out of Frankenstein's monster, but also the first android ever introduced in the series, the first artificial human. And Toriyama would revisit this idea later on with Cell. I don't believe at this time Toriyama had planned at all to do more androids. I don't think that was the plan here, yo. No, I really don't.
I agree.
I think it was just Ader, and that's it. Yeah. But here's the thing, though. The idea of there being like artificial creations that are also numbered, this is nothing new for Toriyama, because in Dr. Slump, Dr. Mashirito creates these giant robot mechs, and they all have names.
Names,
so, So Toriyama's borrowing from the big mechs. 8, 16, 21, all good androids. I guess that's true. Well, 17 and 18 became good too. I mean, 17 and 18 also became good. Cell didn't. Did he make any androids like before 8, or was it randomly chosen to be 8? Go to the.
There were 8. It's implied.
Geekdom 101. Androids explained.
Okay, yeah.
I just want to make sure that he watches the video so that I can get some revenue out of it, and so you can get the entire story of the androids, because it's in that video. We even go over the unfinished models in that one, though. Entomologist. Yeah, dude. The thing is, entomologist. I've been doing this almost 10 years, and you wouldn't believe how many times I get asked the same question over and over again, which is annoying sometimes, but not always. You know, it just depends. And if you're wondering why Toriyama chose the number 8, I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know. Yeah, there's no, I don't think he ever said why. So now he wants to get Hachan to hurt Goku, but the big subversion here, the big twist is that he's not a malicious being. He just wants to be left alone. And so he ends up becoming another one of Goku's allies little by little. If you look at the panel there to your left, there's more of that action, you know, where you see Goku flying.
Yeah, he wanted to draw each individual
like flip.
Which is, oh God, so cool.
Yeah. And he's about to unleash the Janken punch, which is the fist. Rock, remember, rock is a punch, paper is a chop, and scissors is an eye poke. And so he nails Murasaki the ninja. And of course, White is dying for 8 to do something, but 8 is not a malicious character by any means. This part right here dragged on a bit longer in the anime, which is Goku trying to figure out where to go. At this point, this becomes literally like a level in an RPG or in any video game. It doesn't have to be an RPG.
Yeah.
Where he's
reminds me a lot of whenever you go into the and I know this isn't a reference, but it reminds me a lot of when you go into the Team Rocket base for the first time in the Pokemon games, because the entire thing is just set up as like squares and rooms. Like exactly like you can fall down, and you can even fall into pit like traps like Goku does here. So that's what it reminds me of.
Hunter, that's just made up headcanon. And Far to Saga says, will this replace Sayuki for now? It's been a while since the last video. No, it's not replacing Sayuki. Sayuki, there's no reason for us to do a Sayuki because there's nothing going on right now. Like, yeah, I've kind of talked about this before. Until new stuff comes out, whether it be the super anime, the super manga, I apologize, Daima later this year, or sparking zero. There's no point in myself. I mean, Jordan's still uploading regular videos, but there's no point in me uploading like content yet because there's nothing really to talk about. And when people don't really care about Dragon Ball, there's not that much attention to it. Therefore, all
you
of my
understand, there has to be an incentive to make the videos too. You know,
yes.
People got to live, they got to survive, they got to do their thing.
Now I'm doing a lot of things right now behind the scenes. I'm running multiple businesses. I'm trying to get a new one off the ground. Like, I'm actually quite happy during this break because I'm actually got some free time to get other shit going. But the Sayuki series is far from over. I mean, I've got the big one that I'm holding on to is Goku versus Wukong, and that's the one that I'm holding on to for later this year. We recorded that one last year, but it's still going to be relevant this year.
Yeah. So you can kind of, you know, if you're interested in the same kind of content as Sayuki, you can kind of use this to replace it because, of course, I'm going to talk about the Journey to the West references in Dragon Ball. You know,
yeah, but I wouldn't call it a replacement. I'd just say it's extra. It's an extra thing.
Yeah.
Extra.
It's just more. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, these streams are meant to be small. Like, they're not meant to have a huge audience, and they're meant to be kind of more of a tribute to Toriyama. Like, if we made these into videos, people just wouldn't watch them. It's better to do a stream. That way we can interact, and, you know, it's less like scripting and editing, and, you know, it would take too long. That's just how it is. I mean, that's just how it is right now. And like I said, I'm actually quite happy now that I have some free time because I know that later in the year it's going to be hell in a good way because I'm kind of ready for it, but I know it's going to be hell.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, moving on. Now we've actually gotten to the part where Goku has gotten to the top, but of course he won't stay there. As you see, there's a trap door under Goku that sends him down to the previous level. This is like something right out of a Nintendo game, bro, or right out of Inspector Gadget. There's a lot of Inspector Gadget here. So Goku he reaches the top, and then he gets sent down to the previous level, and then we start chapter 64, 5th floor, the hair-raising Buyon. Which is wacky because the very first panel that you see there in the lower left is the cast of Dragon Ball watching Dragon Ball. That's pretty awesome, I think.
Yeah, that is awesome.
You rarely see that. Like,
you don't see that kind of stuff very often.
Toriyama's like awesome little like, what do you call them? Chapter pages, like the splash pages. He always puts some cool shit like that in there.
Yeah.
It's very meta, yeah. So this is where Hachan and Goku are. This is kind of the part where they're going to be friends or whatever, and they're going to bond, and they have to fight the mighty Buyon, who I think somebody called him like Majin Buu before Majin Buu. I mean, there's a similarity. They're both fat and pink. But
this is a very, very, very blatant Star Wars Rancor reference. The whole like falling through the ground and like the
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, this is so blatant, bro. Like, I love it.
It's right out of Return of the Jedi, dude.
It really
I love it too. Yeah, and Buyon, when I look at Buyon, he totally reminds me of, and I mentioned more on him in the Red Ribbon Army Explained video, but he does look like a Dragon Quest villain. Yeah, see, the Strider said Dragon Quest looking monster. It does look like more of a Dragon Quest design. And I've said this before, Toriyama's Dragon Quest designs, in my opinion, blow away Dragon Ball because he gets to be so much more creative.
Yeah.
So it's Goku against Buyon the monster, and of course, being pink and fat, regular physical attacks aren't going to hurt him. So Goku's trying that, and it's not doing any good, bouncing right off of him. Goku even says, we're stuck. His body is too rubbery. There was a very similar fight to this in Dragon Ball Z, the World's Strongest, against the giant yellow thing. It's very, very similar. Is Buyon an alien or an Earthling? He's a monster from Earth. That's what he is.
This attack that he uses on Goku where he zaps him with his antenna. This happens later, but Piccolo uses that on him later on. Like, he uses the exact same technique. Like, he zaps him with his antenna. He does the exact same thing.
Look at this right here from Yash. I'm wanting to get into Dragon Quest. Is there a playing order I should follow and consoles? I don't know why this is so hard for people. Play 1, 2, and 3. That's all you got to start with. 1, 2, and 3. There's no magical playing order where you can start with like 8 and then go back to 6. I mean, there you can start anywhere, really. You really can, but play 1, 2, and 3. And 1 and 2 are old and very archaic. They're available on the Switch right now. You can download them. They're also available on mobile. I don't like the mobile versions. If you can get your hands on a Super Nintendo emulator and a ROM of the Japanese, get that. But that is where you go for Dragon Quest. Start there. Buyon with his giant green tongue, bro. He could do some damage, let me tell you. Indeed. And I like how here we see how much of a coward Ader is. Not to say that, no disrespect to him, but like, my fan theory is that Chaozu is Grand Zeno. What do you think? It's the same guy from before, bro. I don't even know. I'm not gonna even, you know what? I have no comment. I have no comment on that, bro. I have no comment. So, wait, did I miss something here? Oh, I see what Goku. Yeah, Goku tried to go inside of him because he tongued him in. Yeah, I see. Yeah, I missed that earlier. And so Goku inside of him escapes. And notice that he fires a blast from his antenna just like Majin Buu. He really is like an early version of Buu.
Yeah, and like I said, Piccolo does the same thing when he fights Goku in the tournament. He zaps him with the antenna, exactly like that.
Xavier says, I think it would have been interesting if the first 7 androids before 8 were the other universal monsters. Oh, you mean like the mummy? Well, we saw that. Yeah, we saw that with the Baba stuff. With Uranai Baba, we saw like a version of the Invisible Man and the Mummy, and we saw like a Dracula type of character, Dracula Man. It would be awesome, I agree, if it was like the creature from the Black Lagoon and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde as like, well, I mean, Lunch is kind of like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but a chick, right?
Yeah, she is, for sure.
Yeah, I guess the closest we got the Universal Monsters in the Baba arc. They just weren't androids. I mean, it would have been cool though. It would have mixed together. So Goku fires a Kamehameha, and again that bounces off. Buyon was really a tough opponent for Goku at the time.
Yeah, he was the secret final boss, kind of.
At the time, yeah. And it says, even his last ray of hope, the Kamehameha bounced off the monster Buyon. Will it exhaust Goku be able to win? Dun, dun, dun. Next chapter, 65, how to unjiggle a juggler. I have a weird feeling that's not the original title of that chapter.
No, it's how to unjiggle a jiggler. It's not juggler. That's not.
Might be a typo.
Yeah.
Devilman would destroy Frieza. I'm just not going to pay attention to this fucking guy, bro, because he's doing it again. All right, so feel free to kill them both, Buyon. So the order is made. Goku and Ader have to work together.
And I love how Goku gets more serious when Android 8's the one in danger rather than himself. I think that's a really cool thing.
But I thought Goku was selfish.
Yeah. A lot of people think that.
No, they're dumb. Sorry, but they're dumb. Just because if somebody does something selfish, does not make them a selfish person.
Yeah.
No, I do not want to go into fake fan theories because most of them are really stupid horse whisperer. But feel free to post your favorite ones there. There's been a lot of bad ones. Either way.
So this is kind of insane for Goku. Goku uses chemistry to defeat him. Like, of all things for Goku to use to win this fight, he uses chemistry, which is just wild to think about.
Yeah. No, I mean, we saw mathematics later on.
Yeah.
We saw that. So Goku finds the proper hole to punch through. And then he has to go duck around. Ader, and then the cold goes in, and he pretty much freezes him, bro. And that's almost like a fucking Sub-Zero Mortal Kombat move.
Yeah, like it is straight up.
Yeah. Moving on here. Let's see. Now Goku jumps back up, headbutting the floor. He's back on the final level again. So we've seen Goku make his way through the pagoda. And I like how he was going up, then he went down a level, then back up. That's a very video game. This whole arc in many ways is a video game. I mentioned it in my Red Ribbon Army review, the Saga or the Red Ribbon Army Explained video. I mentioned that there was a rumor that Toriyama based this arc off of like playing Mega Man, but I don't think there was no interview about that. But it does feel very video game-ish. So what were you gonna say something?
No, I was just reading the chat.
Oh, I see. So of course, White pulls out a pistol because that's gonna work on Goku. I absolutely love Chapter 66's cover art, Muscle Tower, the end. It's a giant. This is so awesome. It's a crossword puzzle along with a little maze. How many manga is this like a common thing in manga? Because I don't think I've seen manga that has like little maze games. And,
I do think that they did used to do like puzzles in manga sometimes as like bonus pages, but I think this entire thing is like a very Toriyama centric thing in comparison. I don't think it's like super common. I think they did a few like little games and stuff in the Astro Boy stuff, but it's been a long time. So
well, I think I saw, and this is, I mean, I don't remember exactly, but I think I remember when I was a kid, there was a comic book that I used to own that did have a crossword puzzle at the end.
yeah.
So it's
very common in all forms of comics to do that kind of stuff, but not like Toriyama did here. Toriyama did something unique in comparison.
Davion Johnson says White kind of looks like Bruce Campbell a little bit. I can see that a little bit. He's modeled after somebody else, which I cover in the Red Ribbon Army Explained video. Now, what I like about White is that even though like he's trying to get rid of Goku, he's also now fighting him. Like he's straight up going to throw hands with him. And of course, he doesn't know how strong Goku is. Once again, like I said earlier, another example of a kid beating up on an adult. Goku, and Arale does the same thing at times. Goku just completely smashing enemies. Like no matter how big and buff they might be, Goku's just on another level, bro.
Yeah, and Kid Goku particularly is such a perfect character to do these kind of stuff because he's naturally kind of mischievous anyway. It's very similar to like the dynamics of like Home Alone and like a lot of these movies where it's like a young protagonist who is kind of a trickster and kind of mischievous, and he's always doing everything with a pure heart and like a sense of lightheartedness, despite the fact that he's like basically torturing the people. Like in Home Alone, he's basically torturing the criminals who are trying to rob his house. And Goku does something very similar, like throughout Dragon Ball, with all of these bullies and villains.
This arc in particular, because I felt like in the Demon King Piccolo arc, Goku took a lot of L's in that one. Like he was kind of beaten up a lot. In this one, it does kind of feel like Home Alone. But remember, this came out before Home Alone.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying it's more like it has that same feeling of there's like a sense of enjoyment and comedy that comes out of seeing a kid with a light heart do extremely horrible things to horrible people. You know what I mean? Like there's just something funny and entertaining about that.
We're going to go more into the rest of this. We're almost done here. Let me get this question from Horse Whisperer. He says he has a certain innocence because he's a kid pushed into a situation that he wouldn't be in otherwise. Well, he's pure of heart. And in most of these cases, either somebody tries to attack Goku or attack an innocent person, or he wants to just have a competitive fight with them. Goku never, the thing that makes Goku such a great character as a kid and as an adult is that he never at any point picks on somebody beneath him. He doesn't like to, like anytime that he gets, if you think for a minute and go back to all of Dragon Ball and Z, just all of it. And maybe even Super if you want to count it. Notice that Goku whenever he goes and fights somebody and he knows he's stronger than them, like when he fought Captain Ginyu and used the Kaioken and Ginyu freaked out because the scouter was going nuts. Goku at that point told Captain Ginyu, look, I don't want to fight you. You can just leave the planet. Because he's basically saying, I'm like, he had fun, but it's like, I'm stronger than you. I can whoop your ass anytime I want to. I'm giving you a chance to survive. That's pretty much what he did.
Yeah, that is what martial arts is. That's what it is. If you do not have that attitude, you are not a martial artist. You are, you know, like this is something that people just generally don't understand, is that there is a philosophy behind martial arts, and that philosophy is what makes it what it is. Without that philosophy, it's just combat. It's just you trying to kill or defeat your opponent. There is no martial arts is a philosophy behind combat. And the philosophy is to not allow malicious intentions to affect your actions whenever you have to commit violent acts, because that is what's considered evil. The entire thing is just a way to justify the use of violence within the context of self-defense, because violence within the Buddhist context is normally considered bad no matter what. But if you're not doing it with malicious intentions, if you're not doing it with evil intentions, because sometimes it's necessary, as a martial monk, that is the justification that people use in that practice, to use violence as somebody who practices Buddhism. You can use violence, but you can't use it with malicious intentions, which is the reason that Goku has a permanent, you know, pure heart aesthetic in the story, because he is the ultimate martial arts character. He cannot stray away from being a conceptual, representation of the idea of martial arts. Toriyama consistently plays on that throughout the entire story. He never strays away from Goku being the martial arts staple character. So, you know,
Benjamin Mendoza told me he never read the manga without telling me, but that's okay. We're here. No, and I agree with you, and I don't think these concepts that you are talking about are at all complicated.
They're not.
But again, you and I, what I think we have that a lot of Dragon Ball fans are missing, I think, is even if you're a fan of martial arts, I don't think people really understand like the aspects of martial arts that Dragon Ball is borrowing from, because I had an older brother, and my older brother was the one that got me into things like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Bruce Lee. I saw Enter the Dragon with him. I saw Fists of Fury with him. And so I think because I discovered those things before Dragon Ball, the whole concept of Goku being just a competitive motherfucker and just wanting to test himself, and if he knows that he's got you beat, he won't kill you, because what's the point of killing somebody? Like maybe they can get stronger and fight me again. Like that's genuinely good. That is genuinely
Goku is supposed
that is what a good person does.
Well, yeah, it is generally good, but Goku is supposed to be a martial artist by nature. He doesn't think about it in terms of, oh, this is good or this is bad. He just naturally does it. Like the entire point of Goku's character is that he is a Buddhist martial artist by nature. Like that's who he is by nature. Like he doesn't have to really try. A lot of the things that they teach you to be in martial arts, Goku is just that naturally. He doesn't have to try. He's supposed to be the quintessential, essentially like idea and representation and example of what a successfully practicing martial artist is. That's what Goku is.
Diddley Squat says, I guess usually makes sense, but in a situation where your opponent can destroy planets with relative ease, it's a bit hard to justify why Goku would let people go. Well, again, it's everything that we said. It still applies, no matter how powerful the enemy may be.
If anything, that adds to the stakes. So this is, look,
adds to the goodness of Goku.
When you're reading the series and you're getting all frustrated because Goku is practicing martial arts in the face of a major threat or danger, and then the logic in your brain says that's stupid, the reason you're thinking that is because you're not thinking about this series as an allegory for martial arts. The entire point, the reason that
Yeah.
The reason that Goku gets put in these situations and then stubbornly practices the concept of martial arts through all that is because the second that Goku stops doing that, he becomes no different than his enemies. Okay?
Right.
The second that Goku stops being Goku, he becomes no different than Frieza. He becomes no different than Vegeta. He becomes no different than Nappa. He is no different than any of those characters. And Goku is always rewarded in the long term for practicing martial arts. You'll notice that in the story, every time Goku does something that people see, they think it's irrational. Like, let's say giving Piccolo a senzu, for example. If Goku didn't give Piccolo a senzu, guess what? Raditz would have won. And that's the thing. You like these good deeds that Goku commits always come back and fix future problems that Goku himself also indirectly causes with his pure heart. All of these events that you see Goku cause that are bad and good are the result of his karma, essentially. So
right, we talked about that in the video a while ago.
Dragon Ball heavily plays on the concept of karma, and it does that because karma is a huge concept in martial arts itself. The entire purpose
and in Eastern faith, Asian faith.
The entire purpose of you not allowing malicious intentions to infect your mind whenever you're practicing martial arts is to prevent bad karma. So Frieza, Goku was Frieza's karma. Like, that's essentially what Goku was. Like, Frieza, he was a direct reflection of what Frieza himself did, and Dragon Ball plays on that as a concept constantly. So even in like the Japanese military during World War II, which we've already established that Toriyama was obsessed with, they actually taught their soldiers that if you killed somebody without malicious intentions, that you weren't sinning, because that's what Shinto Buddhism and a lot of these ancient concepts teach, is that if you kill in a state of no-mindedness, that you are not killing with malicious intentions, and therefore you are not sinning or committing bad karma. So that is what this concept is that's what Goku as a character is completely centered around, is practicing the concept of Budo in the face of these horrible things that he has to deal with, and being so dedicated to the ideas of martial arts that he is constantly rewarded and makes the world a better place as a result. That is really the narrative of Dragon Ball itself, and that's what makes it like so unique in comparison to like comic books and stuff like that, is that it's not meant to be taken as, oh, Goku's just supposed to kill the bad guy in a smart, strategic way. That's not how this series is implemented at all. This series is an allegory for martial arts and Goku practicing martial arts in the face of tons and tons of pressure to be the opposite of what he is. I mean, the Super Saiyan scene is a literal representation of that. Goku is having to fight the anger. He's having to fight his ego from affecting his conscious thoughts and his actions, and try to prevent that from causing him to make a horrible mistake that would undo everything that he learned on Earth. So
also,
every time, yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to say Diddley Squat's mentality is not wrong. Logically, he's 100% right. Goku should be killing fucking Frieza. Logically, it's not like if you were in his position, logically that makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. But Goku, I think the fact that he does that, I think makes him different than a lot of other protagonists.
He's a quintessential martial artist. Also, Goku did not kill Tambourine out of revenge. He was avenging Krillin.
Right.
Okay.
Which what's the difference between avenging and revenge, though?
Revenge is selfish. Avenging is for someone else.
Oh, that makes sense.
When you do revenge, you are doing it for self. You are doing it to please yourself. You are doing it to feel something, for selfish reasons.
Get back at somebody. I got you.
When you're avenging someone, you're doing it for someone else. You're doing it for Krillin. Okay. So that is a very, very, very important distinction that people miss about Goku's character, is that even whenever he is doing something that seems like revenge, it's not actually revenge, because he's not doing it to feel good or to resolve some feelings that he has that are selfish. He's doing it for the people that deserve to be avenged. Like, he's doing it for them.
But to Diddley's point, which actually matches up with your point, Goku taking out Tambourine and later Piccolo, he saved the world, and so
he did.
He spared a lot of lives by doing that. Now, logically, what Diddley Squat said is not necessarily wrong, because Goku with Frieza, I think what happened with Frieza is that Goku probably thought that the fight with Frieza humbled Frieza, and he thought that maybe after just giving Frieza a thrashing to the point where he got half his body cut off, that he was so crippled that he could never survive anything and he would never come back. If you remember, Goku even tells him, don't ever come back, because at this point, Frieza, who cannot regenerate, has lost an arm and half his body. So he basically is like, you know what? Fuck this guy. Like, I ain't even going to kill his ass. It's better to just let his ass fucking live in shame. And instead, Frieza, he gives him energy, and instead, Frieza fucking bites the hand that feeds him. That was not Goku. You have to understand something. That was not. This is a big thing that pisses me off about Dragon Ball fans. And I'm not saying that they're not dumb, but there's another layer you have to look at here. If you think this, you're not dumb, but I'll explain what I mean. Goku sparing Frieza and then eventually blasting him, which we thought killed him, but actually Trunks did. That was not Goku's fault. That was Frieza's fault. When Goku gave Frieza that energy, that motherfucker should have just gone in his fucking spaceship, gone to hang out with his dad, and gotten a cyber body and leave Goku the fuck alone. What did he do? He gets his dad and goes to Earth and gets killed anyways. That's Frieza's fault. Frieza's the one that made. Hold on. Frieza's the one that made that egotistical choice to attack the hand that fed him. That's not Goku's fault. That's Frieza's fault.
That was karma. That's exactly right. Goku is supposed to be a representation of justice through karma. He is karmic justice. He is the justice that you yourself caused as a result of your own actions. But not just that, people love to criticize Goku sparing Frieza, but Goku is literally practicing the exact two concepts that Roshi taught him in his fight with Frieza. And they actually go over this a bit more in the anime, because Roshi talks about on Earth during the filler about how Goku is like struggling not to lose his identity, like who he actually is as a person. And then we see Goku spare Frieza, basically taming the ego as a martial artist in the name of practicing martial arts. And then we see him kill Frieza in one blow out of self-defense, which is the two things that Roshi made sure to tell Goku to do all the way back in the original Dragon Ball as a martial artist. The entire point of that scene.
Again, you have to watch Dragon Ball and
exactly. Oh my God. Please watch OG Dragon Ball and read the manga.
Please watch it all. I'm not going to say no names, but these motherfuckers on YouTube that are fucking, let's play the latest game and don't know shit about the series, bro. There's a reason why, because they've only seen Z. But I do want to say one last thing before we finish off this chapter, because we're almost done with this volume. Another point about karma is when Goku gives Cell the Senzu. Now, wait. I understand when Goku gave Moro the Senzu, that was dumb. That was dumb, because Goku should have known from Cell. When Goku gave... Well, wait, I know you do, but I still hate it. But when Goku gave Cell the Senzu, he did it because he recognized how much of an egomaniac Cell was, and he wanted to humble Cell by having Gohan whoop his ass, because Goku knew that Gohan could whoop Cell's ass. Goku believed in Gohan more than Gohan did. You understand what I'm saying? Goku believed in Gohan and knew he had that killer instinct. And the reason as to why Goku put him out there, whether it was a mistake or not, that's up for debate, is because he wanted Gohan to get that killer instinct. He wanted Gohan to be a fucking animal and a savage and to put this motherfucker Cell away. Goku was even telling Gohan to put Cell away, because by the time we got to the Cell Juniors, folks, that was after Goku stepped down and gave Cell the Senzu. At that point, Goku realized this motherfucker just made clones of himself and he's trying to kill all of us. The rules are out the window now. Fuck the martial arts. Goku tells Gohan, finish this motherfucker off, and he doesn't do it.
Well, hold on. The martial arts is still there, though.
But it's not. But Cell broke the rules by creating Cell Juniors.
That's true, but
that's what I'm saying.
Gohan, there is a literal example of what I'm talking about on Namek with Gohan. So Goku, whenever he's on Earth or whenever he's on Namek, the only reason he can control himself through Super Saiyan is because of his nature as an Earthling. That's the only reason he can control himself through it, because he has a different nature than the other Saiyans, which is the entire point of the narrative. Gohan, on the other hand, starts to do the exact opposite of what Goku did on Namek, and he starts to allow his anger to infect his mind, his intentions. He wanted to make Cell suffer. He had active, conscious, malicious intentions of destroying Cell. He wasn't doing it to protect Earth. He wasn't doing it out of self-defense. He was not practicing the concept that Roshi taught Goku. He was doing literally the exact opposite.
By the way,
and as a result, suffered for that.
Quick sidebar here. None of this is being scripted. All of this is coming off the head, bro. Unlike other YouTubers that have to fucking hire help to teach them about Dragon Ball, this is all, there's no script here. This is all fucking improv. It's all from here. Go ahead.
Yeah, but people think that, like, you know, those two scenes are like contradictory to each other. No, they're not. In both instances, there is a struggle to correctly practice martial arts with both.
There is a struggle. Yes.
Yeah, and Gohan is literally used as an actual example of what Goku could have become and could have suffered the consequences for if he gave into the effect that Super Saiyan was having on his personality.
And here's I want to add to what you're saying, but because you already mentioned that, but I wanted to get back to the Cell thing for real quick for a moment because this is a big point. People who say, why did Goku give Gohan why did Goku give Cell the Senzu? Fucking cracker Americans and their damn surface level shit, bro. Because if he didn't give Cell a Senzu bean and Gohan beat Cell, Cell would say, well, of course I lost. I fought Goku first. Him giving him a Senzu is like, motherfucker, you're at full power now. You have no excuse. That's why he did it, bro.
Yeah, he's breaking his ego.
It was stupid. It was stupid. No, it is this dumb move. If you look at it from a logical perspective, it is stupid, but it makes sense for the martial arts. Same thing with Majin Buu. They could have formed Vegito and wiped out Kid Buu. But what they told each other was, do we have to fuse if this motherfucker's just one guy? You know, we should just fight him ourselves, which was, again, a dumb move, but fitting for the martial arts. If you don't understand, if you don't understand these concepts, Dragon Ball is going to be just another show or a dumb show. If you get it, then it makes sense at least. And you don't have to agree with Goku, but you have to understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, he feeds their ego and then he tears it down. He gets them to like the absolute max where they feel like they're on top of the world and they're like God. And then he just like tears them down. Like the whole like giving Cell a Senzu thing is an obvious reference to whenever Goku gave Piccolo a Senzu all the way back in the original Dragon Ball. And, you know, every time Goku does that, he's doing it in the name of practicing martial arts with a pure heart because everything Goku does, he does with those intentions.
He wanted full power Cell against full power Gohan. That's what
he wanted Cell to be demoralized because he has seen that work so many times in the past. And this is a psychological game that Goku plays on villains that people don't really understand.
Well, I don't even think Goku understands it.
He doesn't. He does. Okay, so that's what I was getting ready to get into. So Bruce Lee talks about in his book about how martial artists.
We should save this for when we get to that chapter, but go ahead.
He basically talks about how martial artists are not logical. They aren't logical because the right mindset that you have to have in combat to correctly implement. Well, it's illogical in terms of like certain things. Like if you want to get stronger and practice martial arts better, there's a specific mindset you have to achieve in order to do that. And you're not always going to make logical decisions once you're in that state of mind. Goku is a literal representation of that idea, and he's not supposed to be a completely logical character. He is supposed to reflect the ridiculousness of that concept and how it can be logical sometimes and how it can cause problems. But he's also supposed to represent the actual ideology behind it and the benefits of that concept as well. So he's like a cool parody of the concept in the sense that his actions cause comedy in the form of he is actually actively making mistakes, but he's making mistakes with a pure heart, and that causes comedy and stakes and stuff like that in the story. But it also causes reward and things of that nature. Bruce Lee was taking from Taoism, and in Taoism they talk about how enlightened beings, due to the fact that they want to nurture all creation, they sort of sometimes it seems as though they're treating the people around them as like straw dogs for sacrifice. But really what they are is they have so much compassion for everything and everyone around them that they don't discriminate between each individual person and put other people, above others. Like everybody deserves a chance to be redeemed. Everybody deserves a chance to be nurtured and to be improved and to be. So there is like a moral philosophy behind it. It's just that Goku doesn't think about it that way. He does all this naturally because it's in his nature to be this way. And yes, it makes him a chaotic character. It makes him cause a lot of problems, but it also causes him to fix most of the problems that he has to deal with in a really cool, serendipitous way. So everybody the stuff that people complain about when it comes to Dragon Ball is actually, ironically, what makes Dragon Ball interesting.
Sometimes I would agree with you. I can't say everything, but a lot of things.
That's what I find interesting about the critiques that people have about Dragon Ball is like a lot of the stuff that people want taken out of Dragon Ball.
They have to think a little deeper. By the way, don't you just love when motherfuckers say it's just a show about a bunch of guys screaming?
Yeah, well, that's
I'm not going to use the R word here, but that's the first thing that pops in my head when I hear that. Oh, 2 plus 2 is 4. 2 plus 2 is 4. Like that's. Anyways, we got to wrap it up, bro. Let's finish up this chapter. So again, White is all freaked out, and then Goku says one of the most alpha lines ever, bro. He says, "You just saved your own life," which I think is an alpha as fuck line. And then what he does, because the villager is the guy we kidnapped, he pulls a Bond villain and puts a gun to the guy's head, using him as a hostage. So we have a hostage situation right here in Dragon Ball, which I think is awesome. They freak out. Goku gets shot. I love Goku's face right there. And I like how White says, not even that kid could withstand this after all, with this big magnum. And then, of course, that's when we have Ader with his Han Solo hero moment, Hachan, step up and say, "How dare you hurt Goku," returning the favor, knocking the fuck out of White out of the building. I love that the arc actually ends with White's, well, not the arc, I'm sorry. The story of Muscle Tower ends with White getting knocked away by his own robot that's in that tower.
Karma.
Yep. Chapter 67 to the
saved by him and cradled and taken out of the tower, like it's so cool. It's so awesome. Like
at that point, we're done with the Muscle Tower part, but the arc continues. Notice the tower's like destroyed now, kind of like in Mario World when you destroy one of the castles and it goes down. Yeah. But moving on, this is mostly aftermath stuff. There's an extra episode of the anime that introduces a character named Dr. Frapp as being Ader's creator. That's just for the anime because Toei did not know that Dr. Garo would be
the creator.
The creator. Joel, what's going on? Yes, White did die there. We never actually saw him die, so they could come up with some weird reason that he survived.
Yeah.
But I think he died. Yeah, I think he died. Yeah. So now we have Goku again changing clothes. I like how many times Goku changes his clothes in this arc. We see him with the red gi. We see him with the snow uniform, the little suit. And this is basically Goku heading out, moving away for his next adventure. And he bids farewell to the north. And it ends with Goku saying, with the narrator saying, in order to fix the Dragon Radar, Goku goes to visit Bulma in the Western City, but will he be able to find her? So in the next edition of Mangalorian, which is going to be volume 6 of the manga, we're going to talk about the first time that we're introduced to West City, aka the Western capital. The reason as to why this is important is because this is the first time in Dragon Ball that we've actually seen a technological city that resembles a Western city. West City, or the Western capital, looks like New York. It looks like Tokyo. It looks like LA. It's not the countryside. It's not mountains and rivers and lakes and martial arts dojos and things like that, or islands. It is a technological place, and I'll be honest, Toriyama did this in Diddley said, wait for a superhero sequel with White Max. That'll be in that new arcade Dragon Ball game. We'll talk about that some other time. But what I was going to say was, I think Toriyama perfectly timed this because I love how we've gotten 60, almost 70 chapters of Goku traveling to different parts of the world. And now we're actually going to see something familiar that we can all relate to, which is a big city. And yeah, it's a big city. And Toriyama introduces it to give us some familiarity. I did a video about this a long time ago. One of the reasons as to why Dragon Ball got so popular, besides, everything we talked about, is because the aesthetic does not look too Japanese. The country of Japan does not exist in Dragon Ball. The US doesn't exist in Dragon Ball. It's its own world that's a hybrid of everything. There's architecture in Dragon Ball that looks like Saudi Arabian buildings. There's architecture that looks like Chinese and Japanese, dojos. There's architecture that looks like regular cities. Like Toriyama just melds everything together. So it doesn't matter if you're in Argentina, Brazil, Canada, America, Japan, France. When you look at a page of Dragon Ball, it's going to be familiar and not too weird. Even on Namek, it's a little different, but by that point we had already explored the Earth, so it was like, here's something new. So what do you think about this Muscle Tower chapter? In the anime, it was way longer. We zipped through this in about 2 hours. What do you think?
I'll be honest with you. It has a really strong, like, Dr. Slump vibe almost. Despite the fact that there's a lot of combat, but like the way that he like pays homage to a bunch of different forms of media that he appreciates, which is something, again, he did in Dr. Slump all the time, while also having Goku run through the gauntlet in the tower. It feels like it just feels very Dr. Slump like to me. It's like it's like, I don't know. You can definitely tell that he's still in his gag manga era during this particular. But I love it though. Like, I still love it. The combat paneling is great, but it's definitely very different than like what Dragon Ball Z would become, for sure.
Still. But I do like going to see Bulma, and we get to meet Dr. Brief for the first time. We get to see the richest family in the world, and it's just Goku's never experienced anything like that. He's hunted for his own food. He's always been on his own. Now he gets to see how civilized people live, and a lot of fish out of water jokes. Bruce Lee appears in the cameo there in the anime, so... Anyways, that's it for the stream, man. We talked a lot on this one, but I had a good time with you.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to go check out my channel. I just put out a really, really cool Vegito video that people have been hyping up. Don't forget to check out Danny's content, the Red Ribbon Army videos, all that good stuff. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe too. So
yeah, all that good stuff. Yeah, check out Jordan, and we might come back next week. It just depends on what's going on, maybe. And then we'll go from there. So thanks again, everyone. Have a great one, and we'll see you soon. Keep an eye on your notifications for Volume 6. End stream.